Hi, my name's Will, and I'm CTO of Obsecure. And as you can see, I'm at home. These days, it's easy to do a lot from home. Groceries, work, even Finovate. But it's hard to make high-risk transactions. When you try to do something like a bank transfer, first you need your password. But then you might have a second-factor authentication, one-time passwords, push notifications, Google authenticators, CAPTCHAs, passcodes, secrets, all providing authentication, but destroying the user experience. The fact is, there's just less trust in digital transactions than in-person, face-to-face interactions. So to go beyond authentication, we're introducing authentic action, a new paradigm of digital trust that's naturally fraud-free. Authentic action reimagines how any digital action can be entirely secure, entirely private, and entirely effortless. No step-ups, no limits, no friction. But enough talking. Let's see how authentic action works with a real-time money transfer. A simple transaction, but normally full of risk. So I'll go to my app, open up my bank, and I'll log in. And now I want to make a real-time money transfer to a new recipient who I've never sent money to before. So I'll go to Zelle and add that new recipient. I'll put in their phone number. I'll put in their name. And I'll hit done. And now I'm gonna make a transfer to this new recipient, again, for the very first time. So I'll go to send money. And as I'm putting the details in for this new recipient, I see that because of authentic action, I actually have a super high limit. And I can send up to $50,000, which is great because normally at my other banks, I have such a low limit for real-time money transfers. But again, because of authentic action, I have a super high limit, and I'll take advantage of that and send. Done. Pretty simple, right? Pretty fast. In case you missed it, there were effectively no limits and no step-up authentications at any point during the session. Authentic action was running in the background, but it was completely passive and effortless. When you trust your users, things can be effortless and limitless. Today, I'd argue most of you don't really trust your users online. If you trusted them, you wouldn't limit their transactions. And you wouldn't second guess them again and again with step-ups and authentication challenges. But with authentic action, we create trust by going beyond authentication. Instead of only focusing on the identity of the user, we ensure that the true customer has actually made the transaction themselves, not an attacker or a malware. We simultaneously verify both the identity of the user and their actions, so that you can trust your customers as if they were sitting right in front of you. And we do this passively, meaning no step-ups, no limits, no friction. And trust also means cost savings. The more a customer can do themselves, the less they have to call you for help. So let's go back to the example that I just showed, and I'm going to repeat this with some more explanation so that you can really see the innovation as it's happening. But before I start, imagine that I'm not at home, but it's 2025 and I can finally go on vacation. And I'm using a totally new device. Now, normally this would be a huge red flag for banks, but as you'll see with authentic action, the flow is exactly the same. Let's take a look. So just like before, I'm gonna open up my bank app, and here I'm logging into my bank with my face, but you can actually keep whatever login methods you currently have. It totally doesn't matter. So I'll go to log in. And just like before, I want to make a real-time money transfer to a new recipient. So I'm going to go and add the recipient details here, just like before. So first, I'll add their phone number. Then I'll add their name. And this is where the trouble normally starts, right? I'm adding a totally new recipient on a totally new device on vacation. So you'd expect at least a second-factor authentication. But with authentic action, you don't need any of that. We enable a completely natural user experience. All I have to do is hit done, and the recipient's added. Now, even when I go to make a transaction, I'm not going to have any type of step-up authentication. Authentic action is going to simultaneously verify both my identity and my actions to make sure that I'm the true user making this transaction. So I'm going to go to hit make a transaction, and this is where I'll make the transaction, but you've already seen me do this, right? You've seen me send money. So let's make this a little bit more interesting. Suppose that while I'm on vacation, I'm lathering up with some sunscreen and someone else takes my device and tries to make a transaction on my behalf. Now, even though they've taken over my trusted session, the transaction doesn't work. With authentic action, it's impossible for any other person or even a malware to make a transaction on your behalf. But when I go back and I try to make a transaction, it's going to work effortlessly. The system simply knows that it's me, the true user, and that I'm the one making this transaction. And just like before, because of authentic action, I have a super high limit, so I can send a substantial amount of money. I'll take advantage of that here, and done. Authentic action creates digital trust that doesn't exist today. But trust isn't created out of thin air. It starts with a rigorous enrollment flow, and it continues with a core design focused at the highest levels of privacy, security, and compliance. We support any camera-enabled device, desktops, tablets, laptops, phones, and we cover both online and mobile transactions. And for privacy, no image ever leaves your local device. Now, we showed adding a new recipient and making a Zelle money transfer as examples of applying authentic action in a bank, but I also could have shown you authentic action with wire transfers, or changing account information, or executing a stock trade, or making an e-commerce payment, all fully secure and beautifully simple. By verifying the authenticity of actions, authentic action guarantees that all digital transactions are as secure and as simple as in-person transactions. But instead, I want to end with something just a little bit different. Remember when someone took my phone and tried to make a transaction on my behalf? Well, this caused the bank's fraud ops team to send me an email to help resolve that alert. And this gives us a perfect opportunity to show another application of authentic action, of how it can secure messaging, just like any other digital transaction. So if I go into the email, I see that the bank says that I can call them to help resolve this alert, or I can just have a quick digital chat, because with authentic action, a chat is as secure as an in-person verification. So let's see how this works. So I click going to have a digital chat, and now I'm in the bank's chat application, and I can see my face because I know this is being secured by authentic action. And so all I have to do is type my response. I'll go and tell the bank that this was a demo, and there is nothing to worry about. There's no actual instance of fraud or someone taking over my account. And as I'm typing this message, authentic action is verifying my identity, right? Making sure that it's me, and also making sure that I'm the one actually typing this message. No possibility of fake communication, no possibility of impersonation. Just think about the massive savings in fraud op costs because of this. Authentic action enables real trust in digital channels that's revolutionary and extremely timely. We've been thrust into a world that's more virtual than most of us are comfortable with. But with authentic action, we guarantee that any virtual transaction is as secure and as simple as an in-person, face-to-face interaction. Thank you very much.
Wow, Will, that was really fantastic. I think the only downside was I didn't quite get that money that looked like it was heading my way, but I just want to make sure that the audience really understands something. How does authentic action go beyond authentication?
Yeah, so you can think about authentic action as a notary, right? To authenticate a document, a notary verifies a person's identity and witnesses them signing a document. So similarly, authentic action goes beyond existing authentication by simultaneously verifying both the identity of the user and the actions of the user. Now, since it's just like a face-to-face interaction, this naturally creates an extremely secure system, meaning no credential stealing attacks, no device malware, replay attacks, overlay attacks, nothing. Without worrying about fraud, authentic action enables limitless and effortless digital experiences.
Limitless. I think that I love that word. I love to hear you use that. That's definitely a game changer. You also mentioned during the demo that although you're using biometrics for identification, you're doing that in a private way. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we use some pretty neat technology that on the one hand ensures that no images ever leave your device, and on the other hand also ensure that you never have to pre-register a device. So this allows for privacy and security across any device, anytime, anywhere. And as always, no step-ups, no limits, no friction.